in the wilderness. He went into all the region around the Jordan, proclaiming a baptism of repentance for the forgiveness of sins. As it is written in the book of the word of the prophet Isaiah, the voice of one crying out in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make his path straight. Every valley shall be filled, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough ways made smooth, and all flesh shall see the salvation of God. This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
May God's word be spoken and God's word be heard. Amen. Worms opened the wooden hull, and in washed the green water and silver minnows. There was less talk of salvaging the 63-foot trawler left in the harbor. The boat, named New Hope, slouched to starboard, then sagged against the bottom sand. 5 years went by. The boat settled in. The shipworms ate away until all that remained were bones. Wooden boats of this kind don't exist anymore. This was a pretty rare bird. The sinking of the New Hope was a slow spectacle. The greenish decking, the broken back and rusting nose drew tourists, fishermen, and photographers. Their photos captured rot beneath dripping sunsets. The fishing boat's image was printed on postcards that were then sold in gift shops. You could buy the New Hope on a throw pillow or on an iPhone case. By then, the H of its name was nearly gone. The C was working on the O. Surely, the neighbor said, some prankster would repaint the fading letters. No hope there. Fishermen roped it tight against the pier so it wouldn't blow down the harbor and into the pristine pleasure boats. The boat sagged deeper. Its lines grew woolly with algae. Its deck was a bathtub of still minnows. The iridescent oil patch was shaped like the state of Texas. By then, the diesel fuel had been siphoned. The block and tackle had been taken. Raped and pillaged, one fisherman said sadly. Aboard the New Hope, even the osprey had abandoned its nest. The trawler was only scenery when a company came with its salvage ship, the Iron Lady. Its crane pulled apart the boat's broken ribs. The state paid for it all, about $60,000, 6 times the cost of scrapping the usual smaller abandoned boat. The New Hope steel, the winch and dredge, was sunk in an artificial reef 9 miles offshore. Perhaps the answers to why she was abandoned sank with the steel, 50 feet deep. It's ironic that this boat was named New Hope, because it's an echo of the end of so many of our hopes. Hopes for world peace, hopes for our country, hopes for our church, hopes for our families and relationships, hopes for ourselves. One only has to listen to the top 10 news stories to feel hope sinking like that boat. Everyone standing around watching, speculating, taking pictures, but unable to do anything about it. It is especially depressing when we hear once again those Christmas songs which speak of the hope for war to end, for peace and brotherhood to reign, for love to come down at Christmas time. And we ponder how personally we have sung these songs for over half a century, and yet we seem to be just as far from hope as ever. Yet there is another story of New Hope. Did you know there are 102 towns and villages in the United States named New Hope, or just Hope? One of them is nestled in the Finger Lakes, just southwest of Syracuse. This town, like many named New Hope, started out as a mill town. They are located on a source of rushing water which made them perfect locations for grist mills. They weren't originally named New Hope. They were first names for the person or family that settled there or built the first mill. But somewhere in their history, things started to go south. Their boat started to sink. Paradigm shifts, economic, political, social, took their toll on these communities. At each point of crisis, the people prayed. That's right, they prayed. They put their hope in the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Whether prayer changed the situation or prayer changed the people, the tides turned. They began to see new opportunities or new ways to meet the challenges. As a result, their direction changed and their hope was renewed. At that point, they changed the name of their towns to New Hope. Here in New York, New Hope was the home of New Hope Mills, the folks who make pancake mix, flour, oatmeal, and a variety of other grain products. At one time, they employed over 200 people, and the old stone grist mill was booming. But things changed. Industrialization replaced stone grinding. Today, the mill complex is deteriorating, but still in working condition. The company, which moved to Auburn, has had to undergo many changes, but is still going strong and turning out new products like gluten-free, organic, and low-carbohydrate grains. They're currently working to preserve the old mill and make it a historic museum. Interestingly, the company's motto is "Making Memories Around the Table Since 1823. As an aside, it seems like we could make that our motto. Here at St. Peter's, we have been making memories around the table since 1820. Advent is a journey toward Christmas, a journey toward final judgment, a journey toward the end of our own lives. One of its symbols is the Advent wreath, a circle of unending green, a reminder that that journey is always forward, but it ultimately brings us back around to the beginning. So no matter where our journey leads, whether to Christmas, to judgment, or to death, our hope is that it will lead us to where our Christian journey began. It will lead us to an encounter with Jesus Christ. So we join our voices with the psalmist and the writer of the letter to the Romans, and we proclaim that our hope for the future, our hope comes from God. Our hope is in the Lord, and we shall not hope in vain. Amen. Now let us stand and affirm the faith with the words of the Nicene. We believe in one God,